Okay, so let's go ahead and move into our next section of the test, review anyway, and we're going to cover the addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division all at once of one-step problems. So in the directions, what you'll see when we talk about one-step problems is the directions will simply say to solve the equation. Okay. So let's get right into it. I'm going to use x as my variable throughout most of this, and just to keep it simple. So let's say the first one is x minus 3, okay, equals a negative 4. Okay, so before I get set up, let's go over what it is for opposites real quick. So the opposite of addition, okay, is to subtract. And the opposite of multiplication is to divide. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind as we go through these. Okay, so I'm going to draw a red line down center, and really that red line, kind of like we did yesterday, is simply there to remind us that if we do something on one side of the equation, that we've got to do it on the other side also. So we're going to get right into it. On our first equation, we have x minus 3 equals a negative 4. And we're trying to isolate x here. So what we're going to do is, because that is minus 3, we're going to do the opposite, so we simply add 3. And we're going to add 3 on the other side as well to keep it balanced. Okay, put a line under it, and now we're ready to go ahead and work out the problem. Now on the left hand side, a minus 3 and a positive 3 cancel out, so there's nothing left there. And so all we have is an x. Okay, and that's going to equal, and over here we have a negative 4 and a positive 3, and so that's going to give us a negative 1. Okay, so we've solved the problem, and we said that the solution is x equals negative 1. So I'm going to go through, actually, put a little wavy line here, because I'm going to do the verification real quick. So the original equation was 1 minus 3, or sorry, x minus 3 equals negative 4. And I'm going to plug negative 1 in there for where x was, so that becomes negative 1 minus 3 equals negative 4. Okay, and I don't like subtraction, so I'm going to put it as negative 1 plus a negative 3 equals negative 4. Okay, you don't have to do that necessarily, but I do. And we have negative 1 and negative 3, so they're both negative. We can add them, so we have a negative 4 now, and it equals a negative 4. Okay, so our verification checked out, so we know that this solution is correct. Okay, so that's an example of a subtraction, so let's go ahead and do one of an addition. Okay, so let's move this up. And for your sample problem, let's use 7 equals x plus 3. Okay, and let's put a line down to divide our problem up so we know what the left and right hand side are. Okay, so you'll notice right away though that on this one the variable's on the right hand side, and that's okay. It will treat it just the same way. So we're trying to get x by itself, and so we have a plus 3 up there. So again, the opposite is to minus 3. So we do that on both sides. Okay, draw our line. And again, a plus 3 and a minus 3 cancel out, and that leaves us with just the x on that side. And that x equals, and we have a 7 and then minus 3. So we're at a 4. Okay, so we say x equals 4. So I'm going to do kind of the wavy line here because we're going to do the verification. So the equation, original one, was 7 equals x plus 3. And in here we're just going to plug that in now, so 7 equals, so x we said was 4, so we're going to put 4 in there for x, and then plus 3. And 7 does indeed equal 7, so our verification's done, and we know that this solution, x, really does equal 4. Okay, so the nice thing about those verifications is that you can go back and check your answer, so even when you take this test, you can pretty much know if you got them right or wrong before you even hand it in. Alright, so that's an example of that one. Let's get into our multiplication and division. Okay, so multiplication division. Let's go ahead and use this problem here. So let's start out with an x divided by 3 equals a negative 8. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so again, let's put the line that separates the two sections or two parts of our equation here. Okay, so what we're looking at is x divided by 3 on the left hand side. So the opposite of division is multiplication. So we're simply going to multiply both sides by 3. Okay, so when we do that, on the left hand side, the 3's cancel out. Oh, forgot to put my line in here. And that leaves just x over here. Okay, and then we have a negative 8 times a 3, and that's going to give us a negative 24. Okay, remember it's negative because you have one negative times a positive. So we said that x is equal to negative 24, so let's go ahead and verify that and see if we're right. Okay, original equation was x over 3 equals negative 8. We're going to put negative 24 is what we said x was. We're going to put that in for x, so negative 24 divided by 3 equals negative 8. And then if you divide 24 by 3, you do get an 8, and it is a negative because you're dividing a negative by a positive. And negative 8. Okay, so this one checks out, and our solution really is x equals negative 24. Okay, so let's do one more, and let's look at a multiplication problem this time. Okay, so our one-step multiplication problem, let's use a negative 10 equals 2y, or 2 times y. Okay, so again, let's divide our problem up so we know the size we're working with. Alright, and now our variables on the right hand side, again, it doesn't really matter. So this is 2 times y on the right, and the opposite of times is to divide, so I'm going to divide both sides by 2. Okay, draw our line, and that's going to cancel these two out, and that leaves us on the right hand side with just y. And on the left hand side we've got 10 divided, or negative 10 divided by 2. So we're at a negative 5. So we say that y is equal to negative 5. Okay, let's put our verification up under here and rewrite the problem. We started out with negative 10 equals 2y. So we'll put x in there, so negative 10 equals 2 times y, and we said it was negative 5. So negative 10 equals, and 2 times negative 5 is a negative 10. It checks out. Okay, so we know that this solution, y equals negative 5, is correct. Okay, so those are examples. We went over an addition, a subtraction, a multiplication, and a division, and how to solve on a one-step equation for the variable. Okay, so off to the side, if you want to try this on your own, let's look at this one. How about the x over 5 equals a negative 5. Okay, so that's your kind of star problem to go through over on this one. And go ahead and complete that, and then we will move on to our last section, which we actually started with yesterday, using two-step equations, and then we kind of combining like expressions and some other things in there in order to solve for x. So let's go ahead and pause for a minute and work on the star problem, and then we will move on to the next section here in just a moment.